Welcome back, everyone, to UnderCover, Waterproofing and Underpinning Secrets. This is our deep dive into making your home the absolute best it can be, brought to you by us, DGI Waterproofing.
Glad to be back.
Last time, we got into how climate change and basement waterproofing, that was episode 6, how that really impacts your home's resilience.
Right, a really important topic these days.
Definitely. But today, we're diving into something else that affects so many of us, especially, as things warm up. Allergies.
Ah, yes, the sneezing season for many.
Exactly. And you might think, okay, allergies, that's pollen, stuff from outside. But here's the twist. What if your own basement is actually making your sneezing, your congestion, those itchy eyes worse? So our mission today is to really unpack that surprising link between home moisture and allergies and show how foundational solutions like the expert basement waterproofing we provide at DGI are really key to creating an allergy-proof sanctuary in your home. We're peeling insights straight from our DGI waterproofing blog and other expert guides.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, isn't it, how often we just don't think about our homes as a source of allergy triggers.
Right.
It's not just what's blowing in the window. It's like this invisible army lurking right inside.
An invisible army. I like that.
Yeah.
Scary, but accurate, probably.
Well, think about the scale. Our sources show that something like 8 out of 10 people in the U.S. are exposed to dust mites.
8 out of 10.
Yeah. And 6 out of 10 encounter cat or dog dander. So this isn't some small niche issue. If you're feeling sniffly or itchy at home, you're definitely not alone. And yeah, your house might be playing a bigger part than you think.
Okay, so let's unpack that connection. You're saying our basements, often just, storage zones, could actually be secret allergy hotspots.
Yeah.
What's the biggest hidden thing down there people miss?
Absolutely. Basements are just prime locations. They often have, well, the perfect conditions for allergens to thrive.
Perfect conditions like what?
It's usually a mix of things. They tend to be darker, maybe less ventilated, but the real kicker is moisture.
Ugh, moisture. Always comes back to moisture with basements, doesn't it?
It really does. You get that damp air, sometimes warm, moist air seeping through tiny cracks you can't even see in the foundation. And that makes mold growth not just possible, but honestly, pretty likely.
And mold spores are a major allergen.
A major one, yes. They get airborne really easily.
And isn't there something called the stack effect that makes this even worse? I think I saw that on the DGI blog.
Yeah.
Can you break that down? Like, how does air actually move in a house?
Yes, the stack effect, it's super important here. Basically, think of your house acting like a big chimney.
Okay.
Warm air inside naturally rises, right? And it finds ways out through the upper levels, the attic, maybe gaps around windows up high.
Right.
As that warm air goes up and out, it creates this slight suction, like a negative pressure down low. And that pulls replacement air from the lowest levels, usually your basement or crawl space.
So it's actively drawing air up from the basement.
Exactly. It pulls that basement air and anything in that air, mold spores, dust mite allergens, just dampness itself up into your main living areas, your living room, your bedrooms, everywhere.
Wow. Okay. That's not a pleasant thought. Like a chimney for allergens.
Pretty much. And that's precisely why, at DGI Waterproofing, we always stress that dealing with basement moisture isn't just about protecting the foundation structure. It's a critical step, maybe the critical step, for allergy-proofing your entire home's air.
That really drives the point home. So, okay, someone's listening there thinking, my allergies are worse at home. How exactly does the waterproofing work we do at DGI translate into allergy relief? What's the mechanism?
That's the key question, right? It really boils down to getting rid of the conditions these little microscopic troublemakers need to survive and multiply. We can break it into, say, 3 main problems and how our DGI solutions tackle them.
Okay, problem 1.
Problem 1. Humidity fuels mold and dust mites. You don't need a puddle of water. Just high humidity in the basement means damp walls, damp floors. They're constantly releasing moisture into the air.
So even just that clammy feeling is bad news.
Exactly. It raises the humidity throughout the whole house, and boom, you've got the perfect spa retreat for mold and dust mites.
Lovely. And the DGI solution?
Our solution is comprehensive basement waterproofing. We're talking about sealing out that excess moisture coming in from the ground, from the outside air. It keeps the basement physically dry, sure, but just as importantly, it lowers that overall humidity and really improves your home's air quality.
So it's not just patching a leak, it's controlling that whole damp environment.
Precisely. Which leads right into the second problem. Mold and dust directly cause allergy symptoms. Moisture is really the essential ingredient for mold and mildew. Even tiny leaks or just condensation forming on cool basement walls can be enough. Mold releases those spores, triggers coughing, wheezing, sinus pressure, all that misery. And dust mites. They also love dampness, plus they feed on dead skin cells we all shed. So they're another big source of allergy issues in damp areas.
So what's the fix there?
The fix, from our DGI perspective, is removing the moisture. You take away their essential ingredient. By waterproofing effectively, we eliminate the environment where the mold and the dust rates can really thrive.
Makes sense. Cut off the source.
Exactly. And, if you already have visible mold or suspect you do, that's where our professional mold removal services come in. We can safely handle that existing problem too, especially for folks in the GTA.
Okay, good to know. And the third point. You mentioned leaks earlier.
Right. Problem 3. Water leaks create those specific damp spots that are perfect breeding grounds. Often moisture isn't everywhere, but it's sneaking in through little foundation cracks, maybe where pipes come through the wall, or just damp concrete itself. These spots become hot spots for mold, dust, and sometimes even bacteria or other outdoor allergens that get washed in.
So targeting those entry points.
Absolutely. Our solutions at DGI include things like basement crack sealing, using specialized materials to stop water getting through those cracks. Sometimes it involves water removal systems if there's active water. Exterior protection membranes can stop water before it even reaches the foundation. And then there are drainage systems, things like French drains around the foundation or properly installed underground downspouts. They all work to collect and redirect water away from your basement.
So you're managing the water outside before it gets a chance to come inside.
That's the goal. Create a protective shield, manage where the water goes, stop it entering your living space. It's a really effective way to allergy-proof, starting right at the foundation.
Okay, so we've really established how crucial controlling that basement moisture is. It's like the foundation for healthier air, literally. But once you've got that sorted, maybe with help from DGI, what else can you, the listener, do to kind of amplify that allergy proofing through the rest of the house?
Yeah, that's a great point. Building on that solid, dry foundation, the next layer is really optimizing the indoor environment everywhere else. And a huge factor here is controlling the relative humidity throughout your home.
Right. You mentioned humidity earlier. Is there like an ideal level?
There is. You want to aim for what some call the Goldilocks zone, not too high, not too low. Keep the relative humidity below 50%. Ideally, it's somewhere between 30 and 50%.
Why is that range so important?
Well, it's not just about feeling comfortable. There was this really interesting 18-month study that showed keeping home humidity below 50% dramatically reduced dust mite populations and other allergens. It just makes the environment much less hospitable for them.
Okay, so how does someone actually know what their humidity level is?
Oh, that's easy and pretty cheap, actually. Just buy a hygrometer. You can get a digital one for around $30 at most hardware stores.
A hygrometer, got it.
Yeah, it gives you a real-time readout. Think of it like a thermostat, but for humidity. A vital sign monitor for your home's air.
Good tip. What about air conditioning? We use it to cool down, obviously, but does it help with allergies too?
It absolutely does. AC is kind of a double-duty hero here. It cools, yes, but it also dehumidifies the air as part of that process. Plus, the system's filter can trap some pollen and dust that might be circulating. So running your AC, maybe keeping it set between, say, 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 22 Celsius, helps keep that humidity down below 50% and filters the air too.
Okay, AC is good. Now, what about these HEPA filters we hear so much about? What's the deal with them? Are they really that good?
They really are pretty incredible, especially true HEPA filters. HEPA stands for high-efficiency particulate air.
Right.
The magic is in the filter material itself. It's this super dense mesh that works by mechanical filtration. It physically traps tiny particles. We're talking 99.97% of particles as small as 0.3 microns.
Wow, 0.3 microns. What does that actually catch?
That catches most of the common culprits: pollen, pet dander, dust mite fragments, mold spores, basically the stuff that makes you sneeze and itch. There was even a study showing that using HEPA air purifiers reduced airborne particles by something like 73%, and people actually needed less allergy medication.
That's significant. So should people get HEPA filters for their whole house? Or just rooms?
Good question. For specific rooms, especially bedrooms, a portable air cleaner unit with a true HEPA filter is a great idea. For whole house protection, you'd look at the filter in your central heating and air conditioning system, your HVAC. You want a filter with a MERV reading of 11 to 13.
MERV.
Yeah, MERV, minimum efficiency reporting value. It just measures how well the filter traps tiny particles. 11 to 13 is a really good balance for residential systems, capturing a lot of allergens without overly restricting airflow.
Got it. And, thinking about it, if you've already tackled the basement moisture source with waterproofing.
Exactly. Then your HEPA filter doesn't have to work nearly as hard fighting mold spores coming up from downstairs. The systems work together.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So if we zoom in now, you mentioned bedrooms being critical.
Yeah.
How do we make the bedroom an allergy-free zone or as close as possible?
Right. The bedroom is really ground zero for dust mite exposure because you spend, hopefully 7 or 8 hours there every night.
Good point.
So first step, allergen-proof bed covers. These are made of tightly woven fabric that basically encases your mattress and pillows, creating a barrier the mites can't get through.
Okay, encasements. What else?
Wash all your bedding sheets, blankets, pillowcases regularly in hot water. Mm-hmm. And by hot, I mean at least 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 54 Celsius. That heat kills the mites and washes away the allergens.
What if you can't wash something that hot?
Good question. If you can't use hot water, drying them on a hot setting, again above 130 Fahrenheit, for at least 15 minutes can also do the trick. And for things you can't wash easily, like maybe some stuffed animals.
Yeah.
Bag them up, stick them in the freezer for 24 hours or more. The cold kills the mites just as effectively. It's like giving them the ultimate cold shoulder.
Huh. Clever. Okay, what about the room itself? Flooring seems like a big one. Carpet versus hardwood.
It is a big one. Ideally, for allergy sufferers, hardwood, tile, or linoleum floors are much better than wall-to-wall carpet.
Why is that?
Carpets are like giant traps. They hold on to dust mites, pollen, pet dander, all sorts of allergens deep in the fibers. Plus, they can trap moisture, potentially leading to mold growth underneath, especially if you're in a humid climate or, have basement moisture issues creeping up.
Right.
Hardwood or other hard surfaces, much easier to clean thoroughly with just sweeping or damp mopping. They don't provide that cozy home for mites, and wood's naturally pretty resistant to mold because it holds less moisture.
So rip up the carpet if you can.
If it's feasible, yeah, that's often the best move for severe allergies. If you have to have carpet, vacuum it really frequently, like once or twice a week, with a vacuum cleaner that has a good HEPA filter so you're trapping the dust, not just blowing it around. And get it deep cleaned periodically.
What about area rugs?
Washable throw rugs are a good compromise. You get some softness, but you can toss them in that hot water wash regularly.
Okay. And general cleaning, dusting.
Yeah.
Any pro tips there to avoid just kicking everything up into the air?
Yeah, that's the risk, right? Stirring it all up. So strategic cleaning is key. First, consider wearing a simple dust mask while you're doing housework, especially if you're sensitive.
Good idea.
And crucially, use a damp or oiled mop or rag for dusting surfaces. Dry dusting often just pushes dust around or makes it airborne. A damp cloth traps it.
Makes sense.
So damp dusting shelves, windowsills, electronics, all those dust collecting surfaces at least once a week is really helpful.
Got it. Okay, so beyond the general dust and moisture, let's talk specific invaders. Pet dander, tiny, sticky.
Yeah.
What's the battle plan there?
Pet dander, yeah. It's tricky because it's microscopic and jagged, so it stays airborne for a long time and clings to everything.
So what can pet owners do, short of getting rid of the pet, which isn't an option for many?
Right. The main thing is minimizing exposure where possible. So try to keep pets off the furniture, especially upholstered furniture, and definitely keep them out of the bedroom of anyone with allergies. Create pet-free zones in the house.
Okay, zones. What else?
Air cleaners with HEPA filters can definitely help reduce the amount of dander floating in the air. Vacuuming regularly, again with that HEPA vacuum, is crucial. Wash pet bedding frequently in hot water. And actually, regular bathing and brushing of the pet itself can reduce the amount of dander they shed into the environment.
Good tips. Now, mold again. We talked about the basement, but what about preventing it elsewhere in the house? Bathrooms, kitchens.
Yeah, moisture anywhere can fuel mold. So in bathrooms, always use the exhaust fan during and after showers or baths. If you don't have one, crack open a window. Keep surfaces dry.
And leaks.
Fix any leaks immediately. Roof leaks, leaky pipes under the sink, condensation on windows. Don't let moisture linger. If carpet gets wet, say from a plumbing leak, you really need to get it cleaned and dried thoroughly within 24 to 48 hours. If you can't, honestly, it's usually best to remove it because mold will likely start growing. Same for soaked drywall or insulation.
Be aggressive with wet stuff.
You have to be. And maybe consider using antimicrobial paint in areas prone to dampness, like bathrooms or laundry rooms.
Okay. And you mentioned one earlier that might surprise people. Cockroaches.
Yeah, believe it or not, cockroaches are a major allergy and asthma trigger, right up there after dust mites for some people. It's not the bug itself so much as allergens in their droppings and body parts.
Ugh. Okay, how do you deal with that?
Prevention is key. Seal up entry points, gaps around pipes, cracks in walls or foundations. Store food in airtight containers. Don't leave food spills sitting around. Clean crumbs promptly. Especially clean under kitchen appliances where food debris can collect. And regular vacuuming helps get rid of both the bugs and the allergens.
Right. Basic hygiene and sealing things up. Makes sense. What about outdoor allergens? We focus inside, but pollen still gets in, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can't hermetically seal your home. So managing those outdoor allergens that inevitably sneak in is also part of the strategy.
Like what? Keeping windows closed?
Definitely on high pollen count days, keep windows and doors shut as much as possible. Run the AC instead. Remember, it filters a bit.
Okay.
Also, think about what you bring inside. Pollen sticks to clothes, so maybe change when you come indoors on high pollen days. Don't rewear clothes you wore outside. Avoid drying laundry on an outdoor clothesline where it can collect pollen.
Didn't think of the laundry line.
Yeah. And shower before bed. Wash off any pollen or dust you've collected on your hair and skin during the day so you're not bringing it into your clean bed.
Good one.
Using doormats helps trap stuff at the door. And even considering a shoes off at the door policy can make a difference in what gets tracked inside.
Simple things, but they add up. Are there any, like, natural helpers, houseplants, essential oils, things like that?
There's some discussion around those. Certain essential oils, maybe lavender, tea tree, lemon, are thought to have some air-clearing properties. But they should really be seen as complementary, not a replacement for the core strategies like moisture control and filtration.
Okay, a bonus, not the main event.
Exactly. Houseplants can potentially filter some specific airborne chemicals, like some studies suggest certain plants might absorb formaldehyde or other VOCs, but they also need care. You have to wipe dust off the leaves and be careful not to overwater because damp soil can actually grow mold.
So houseplants could backfire if you're not
Yes,
careful.
they could, yeah. Water only when the soil is dry. And then there's diet. Some people find dietary changes help manage symptoms.
Like what?
Staying well-hydrated water acts like a natural antihistamine in a way. Some studies suggest probiotics, like in yogurt, might help modulate the immune response and reduce allergy symptoms over time. Vitamin C might help lower histamine levels. And some people swear by local raw honey, thinking it helps build immunity to local pollens, though the scientific evidence on that is still debated.
Interesting. Lots of angles to consider. So, wrapping this up, we've covered a ton, from the basement foundation all the way to diet. What's the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main takeaway is that you can significantly improve your indoor environment and reduce allergy triggers. Our goal at DJI Waterproofing is to help you create that healthier home, starting quite literally from the ground up with a dry, healthy basement.
And knowing when maybe you need more than DIY.
Absolutely. If you've tried a lot of these things, controlling humidity, cleaning diligently, using filters, and your symptoms are still really bad, it might be time for proper allergy testing to pinpoint your specific triggers. Or you might need professional help for things like a thorough mold inspection and remediation, maybe getting your HVAC system professionally cleaned and evaluated, or even pest control for things like cockroaches.
And that's where services like ours at DJI come in for the waterproofing, the water damage restoration, the mold removal. We handle those foundational issues.
Exactly.
But it's also good to remember you don't always have to spend a fortune.
Right. Not at all. Many effective strategies are low cost or free. Regular damp cleaning, keeping that humidity in check with a simple hygrometer, washing bedding in hot water, these are huge.
Yeah.
Yes, things like good air filters or maybe waterproofing are investments, but think of them as investments in your health, potentially saving money on medications or doctor visits down the line.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
And just to circle back, the EPA's advice is pretty straightforward. Control your contact with indoor allergens, make sure your home is well ventilated, and use air cleaners. It's important to be realistic. You'll never get to zero mold or zero allergens. It's impossible. But the goal is dramatic reduction.
Right, making your home a place where you can breathe easier.
Precisely. You can absolutely make your home a much, much healthier space.
Your home really should be your sanctuary, shouldn't it? A place to relax and breathe easy, definitely not your personal sneeze factory. By focusing on that moisture control foundationally, improving your air quality with filters and ventilation, and being strategic about cleaning, you really are taking powerful steps towards a healthier environment. We definitely encourage you to take a fresh look at your own basement and your home with all this in mind.
Yeah, take a look around.
I mean, maybe here's a final thought for you to mull over. Think about that one spot in your home where your allergies seem the worst. Is it the bedroom? The living room while watching TV? Could just one small change, maybe finally getting that hygrometer to check the humidity, or taking a serious look for any signs of dampness down in the basement, could that be the first step to really reclaiming your comfort? Sometimes, the biggest impact comes from tackling those often ignored foundations of your home.
It often does.
So for any basement waterproofing or mold removal needs, remember we at DGI Waterproofing are here to help you create that healthier, allergy-proof space. Thanks so much for diving deep with us today on Undercover, Waterproofing and Underpinning Secrets.
Thanks for listening.
We'll be back soon with more insights on how to protect and enhance your home.